Good morning. There is absolutely nothing more sacred than the moments that are created by the music of this church. I wish that I could muster the courage to start this presentation with humor, but it's too tempting to stop the kind of serenity that's been created by David's great song and the inspiration of Andrew Lloyd Webber and the lyrics of Rice. This is a very special moment when we get to concentrate on that quality of life that is sometimes intensely in all of us called doubt. Have you ever experienced doubt? We just heard the lyrics of Jesus Christ Superstar. Jesus, the man of faith, the man of miracles, in his greatest moment of doubt. I contend that doubt is absolutely essential, for without it, we could not have faith. And without faith, there would be no call to exercise by taking leaps of faith so that we can strengthen what? Our spirit. We are but souls embodied in a vessel called human being. But we're here to live a life that has been given us by a God of our imagination, the Creator God who has created us in God's own likeness, a God that teaches us how to imagine to be all that we can possibly be. And through doubt, we then have a calling. Doubt gives us a calling to faith. Let's take some examples. A young boy is given an opportunity to be the commencement speaker at his high school graduation. He's a fairly good talker, a fairly good speaker. But the idea of talking in front of all of his classmates and their parents and their friends and their families, 3,000 or 4,000 people gathered in a gymnasium to hear his speech absolutely petrifies him. He has a good teacher. She encourages him to read a book. It's the late 1960s, and the book is written by Dr. Maxwell Maltz. It's a book called Psycho-Cybernetics. Dr. Maltz is upset because psychologists seem to be too preoccupied with studying mental illness, abnormal behavior. Dr. Maltz wants to study mental health, not normal behavior necessarily, mental health. There's a difference between mental health and normal behavior, you know. It means 30% of today's teenagers are obese. That means they're not just overweight, they are so overweight that their bodies are harming their vital organs. 63% of today's teenagers are overweight. That's normal behavior among teenagers, but it's not healthy behavior. Dr. Maltz wants to study mental health. And he does a series of experiments to determine whether people who are mentally healthy can discern the difference between reality and dreams. He can indeed prove that healthy people do understand the difference between reality and dreams. Reality and dreams are important because they depict the experience of life. Jesus was a teacher, Buddha was a teacher, there are Hindu teachers, Islamic teachers, Native American spiritual teachers, there's Confucianism. All of these great teachers are powerful, but there's nothing more powerful than the authority of the experience of life. What we hear, we recall, what we see, we remember, what we do, we learn. Dr. Maltz understands that mentally healthy people understand the difference between reality and dreams. But here's the catch. Mentally healthy people emotionally cannot discern the difference. That means the emotional reactions we have to our dreams are just as powerful as our emotional reaction to the experience of life itself. If we have bad dreams about our bad life, then life teaches us through those dreams and through those experiences to keep doing over and over what we've done before, and we begin to experience what we consider to be a bad life. This book, Psycho-Cybernetics, is given to this young student who's about to go through an experience he's never had before. So he has to draw on similar experiences, but he's never had one. He's never spoken at age 17 in front of his classmates at this level. He doesn't know what it's going to be like, and he's petrified. The teacher and Dr. and Dr. Maltz give him lessons on how to envision, much like Buddhism would teach, much like our own teachings in unity would teach, how to envision that gymnasium. Imagine the gymnasium in your mind, in your heart. Know every square inch of it. Own it as though it's yours. Imagine it empty. Imagine the chairs being placed there. Imagine people in the chairs, the first row, the ninth row, full of people, the bleachers filled with people. You know them, you're comfortable with them, they're your friends. Go into that gymnasium to give that speech, because your dream of how that speech will go is a dream that becomes your reality. So, the young boy is taught to imagine, he's taught to practice, and he goes into that gymnasium and gives a marvelous speech, more about which here in a moment. So our reality is important, and our dreams are important, and sometimes doubt calls on us to accept our talents and practice. Sometimes doubt calls on us to understand that doubt may mean don't, to trust ourselves. Laura Smith, a few weeks ago, trusted herself when she was about to get on an airplane in New York City to go to a short trip to Buffalo. She's an executive, a mentally healthy person, a practiced traveler. Every week she travels all over the Northeast on airplanes. She's not fearful of flying. She's not fearful of much of anything, but on that particular day, there was doubt. Something told her not to get on the plane. Even though if she did so, she could arrive 2 hours earlier than the scheduled arrival that would have been in her normal course of travel. She stepped off the runway and just walked away from that plane. It took off, and 45 minutes later crashed in a suburb outside Buffalo. Later, when someone asked her what caused her to hesitate, to get away from that trip, to not get on that plane, she said she could not explain it. She simply knew that she wasn't supposed to be there. And she responded not to her fear, but for what we might call today the Christ within. She felt doubt that said don't, and she didn't. Years ago, Thomas Aquinas urged us to look at doubt as an invitation to feel the lubrication that enables us to experience faith. He expressed healthy skepticism about what was going on in the Catholic Church, and that skepticism was echoed by Martin Luther, who didn't agree with the Catholic Church's form of indulgences. People were given indulgences as a way by which they could give money to the church that would guarantee that they would buy their way into heaven. Luther, who had studied the teachings of Jesus and was a Catholic priest himself, said to the Pope, "I protest." His healthy skepticism caused him to take a stand, and he launched the Protestant movement, which led directly to the kind of New Age Christian thinking that enabled the creation of the unity movement itself. Sometimes doubt then calls on us to exercise healthy skepticism and take a stand. Then there's the story about the Sultan and the horse thief. There is this true, it seems apocryphal, but true story about a sultan who had a great herd of horses, the finest in all of the land. One day, a great and clever thief stole the sultan's favorite horse. When discovering this, the sultan said, "We must bring this man to justice. We must bring my horse back safely." And of course, the men of the sultan's army were dispatched to find the thief and find the horse and bring back the horse safely, the thief to justice. The sultan looked at the horse thief and said, "Of course you know I'm condemning you to death." The thief said, "Wait, just a moment. Sultan, give me 30 days. Give me 30 days and I promise you, your horse will talk." "My horse will talk," the sultan says. "He's my favorite horse." "Of course," the thief said this. "I knew that when I stole him. I promise you, 30 days. Your horse will talk." Well, a press conference was held immediately afterwards. The media, in their 24-hour, 7-day cycle, wanted to know the latest on how this might have happened. What on earth was motivating the thief to say what he had said?